this practice was divided in two sections. One was to build the microscope, and the second was the crystallization of the compounds. The objectives in this practice number 8 was to build a microscope and to see the crystallization of different compounds. For the first part of this practice, the team had to build a microscope. They had to know how to use the tools in order to build their microscope. Then we have to make some proofs and to check if it was correct or not. The second part of the practice, we have the chance to see the crystallization in some compounds. We have to look these compounds in our microscope and we see how they crystallize. Then we put 3 compounds and we see how they react with some other compounds that we put in them. We see many changes, and in our microscope we were able to see all the changes that they had experimented. It was very interesting and very reconforting to see our microscope working.
Complete.
Well, what I learned in this practice was crystallization is, which is a process in which a solid forms highly organized structures, and this process is also a separation technique which takes advantage of the physical properties such as fusion point, boiling point, or even solubility in order to make crystals. And also I learned with my team how to make a microscope, and that was it.
What I learned in this practice was that many compounds can crystallize, and it's very interesting to see how they react and how they crystallize in our microscope. Also, I learned how to use some machines and tools in order to make the microscope, and I learned how it works.
In my opinion, this practice was really fun and interesting because we got to do something that we don't normally do. Usually all the material and all the equipment is provided to us. So this time it was a bit unusual to build a microscope. I never thought I would actually end up doing that. At first I thought it would be hard and annoying, but it ended up being pretty fun.
First of all, I learned how to create a microscope with some material that certainly is really easy to get. Also, when we use our microscope, I realized that a lot of different compounds react with others and create crystals that without the microscope would have been impossible to appreciate.
We as a group had a lot of fun because we think that building a microscope was pretty fulfilling, and there was a great deal of teamwork that was involved. For example, I was in charge of buying all the materials, and the other girls were more in the part of actually building the thing, because I'm not really all that great at working with my hands, so that was actually pretty useful to have the teamwork.